Hey, this is Anney
and Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff Mom Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio. And welcome to another edition of Happy Hour. As always, drink responsibly, listen responsibly, do everything responsibly if you choose to do any of those things.
Yes, all those things.
Yes. What are you sipping on, Samantha?
I am drinking bubbly water once again. This time, so my partner works events, and sometimes from those events, he gets like extras that are left behind by talent, and they left behind watermelon flavored bubbly.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So that might be a new flavor I have to venture out to.
Especially if your pineapple goes away.
Still very sad.
Yeah, I know. I'm sad for you.
Can't find it. What about you?
I am sipping on a light beer that shall remain nameless. But it is interesting because in this happy hour, I kind of wanted to talk about our recent experience recording the audiobook, but also kind of some like queer updates with me because it's a Pride Month happy hour. But like, I don't normally have beer on hand, mostly because I walk to the store and it's heavy to carry. So I don't normally have it. But we had such a busy, stressful week recording this audiobook that a good friend of mine, Katie, who's been on the show, dropped off my favorite light beer outside of my door because
Very
I was
kind.
like, I am too tired to do anything. I'm done. It was very kind, so I'm enjoying that. But it's also funny that you mentioned kind of the bubbly water because a past sponsor, not current sponsor, I don't believe, Hints, sent us a ridiculous amount of product, to be frank.
They're very generous.
Yeah, okay.
Very generous, Anney.
Very
Let's reframe this.
Sorry. Yes. But Samantha and I, as we've talked about, we were so nervous about recording this audiobook. And we were so lucky, and I'm going to talk about it more in a second. I'm sure, Samantha, you have thoughts about it too. But we were so lucky with the team we had, who were both women, were very kind, and held our hands.
Yes.
We were clearly panicking.
Yes.
But Alicia, so the team was Alicia and Mala. Alicia, who was sort of like the voice in our ear, making sure we got everything correct, that we were hitting like the emotional notes, or just being clear. She sent out this advice beforehand, and it was like, wear stuff that doesn't rustle and eat a green apple. A green apple is a good snack. And hydrate, including the day before. So Samantha and I took it very seriously. So the weekend before, I was like, I'm staying in and I'm drinking water, and that's
right. Right.
But then I showed up each day, and you made fun of me, and everyone made fun of me because I came in with this bag of hint water.
Okay, it wasn't because you came in with a bag. We're talking, there were 4 to 5 bottles.
It was more
of
than
water.
That.
Okay, 5 and then like, there was like 4, maybe it was like 3 to 4 hint waters, which you had, and then 3 personal bottles of water, which you had, and we were only there for literally 5 hours or 5.5 hours, with an hour break in between for lunch, and also they have a fully equipped kitchen.
I went through them all, though.
I know you did. It was quite funny. I'm like, they have water and items here.
Right. It was pretty hilarious because I came in and there's just this huge bag, and you can hear all this like water sloshing about it.
And you were struggling at the door to like keep it open, like to even open it. To be fair, the door was complicated because they had it locked, and you had to be like completely in the perfect position for it to unlock, but still, I was like, what is wrong with her as you're leaning sideways?
Yes. I took the instructions very seriously.
It never said to bring your own water or you might die. Like that.
It said hydrate, and who knows? I was just being prepared. But I went through a lot of water, and it was kind of comical because there was like a trail of if you looked in the trash can, you'd be like, oh, Annie's been here, because there's like 3 of these bottles. Yeah, again, currently not a sponsor, I don't think.
At this
but
point,
just,
yes.
they sent us a lot of stuff.
I still have some too, because the following 2 days, I did bring 1 bottle per day, because a part of that advice was, no, I don't think it was her advice. I was looking up advice about vocal stuff, and it said, don't drink cold water, don't drink ice water. And all of my water happened to be in the refrigerator and very cold. And then I had remnants of the hint water, and I went and that was at room temperature, so I went and grabbed them. So I had it there too. And I did drink them while I was there. We also were provided tea, which you had an incident with the tea, because yes, you have found that you are actually allergic to all teas.
Something is going on. I don't know if it's an allergy, but something definitely happens to me after I drink tea, and it's not fun.
At the most inopportune moment.
Yes. But I did want to talk about our experience with that briefly, just because, and I think we'll come back and do a more in-depth thing, but we were so nervous about it, and I'm still feeling the both exhaustion, but also it was a very different experience from podcasting. It really was. It doesn't seem like it would be maybe at first glance, but like having someone in your ear kind of correcting you and directing you, having kind of this like really piece by piece, like where is this going to fit? How is this going to sound? All of that happening. So I'm kind of discombobulated, to be honest, to just have this conversation with you right now.
You had to actually do a recording by yourself last week, which many listeners may have already heard, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. We'll do it after this. And I came in, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. And you're like, I've got it. And I felt bad because you'd already had your 2 days of really stress, and this was the first day that you'd had to rest. And I was like, my first day, and I was like, nope, can't do it. Bye. But yeah, it was such an odd experience. And so we hadn't recorded together since we did the audio recording. So doing our first episode, it felt off. I was like, oh no. Yeah. It just felt so disconnected. And it felt like we had recorded an episode like years ago, when in actuality it was last, Monday or something. I was just like, wow, I am really turned around right now.
Yeah. And so we did 1 day together and then 2 days each separately. But it was hard to adjust to that. And I feel like the first day I did it by myself was pretty rough. And the second day I kind of got in my groove. And then now I'm having to like readjust back
to this.
Yeah, which is odd. But it was, like you said, like 5-hour days. And I did think it was cute because they were both of the people we worked with were like, oh, you're friends. How long have you been friends? I was like, oh, yeah.
Yes, I went and grabbed her for lunch. Every day. You were recording because I live very close to the studio, also have a car that I drive and don't mind driving. But yes, I live very close to there. And so I would grab you for lunch. Also because your chapters peek behind a little preview of the books. I feel like we're definitely a lot more personal than mine. There's a few that I did put personal bits, but it wasn't like I wasn't relaying really vulnerable experiences. But yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'll definitely come in and hang with you, and I'd just watch you not eat.
I would eat, just sit there. Portions are so huge.
Well, also you don't eat a lot of lunch. You're also stressed out, and you're trying to like kind of gain your composure back for the next read. So all of that was completely understandable. But yeah. It was funny because they were like, is Andy going to come get you? And I was like, actually, I'm just going home. I'm going to go see my dog for lunch.
I love that you said that. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was nice. But one of the reasons I just really want to hammer that home, I've never had this experience before personally. Or if I have, but on a really light scale, but I know previous host, Bridget and Emily, would rent a studio to record together, and they'd rent it like once a month and do these really long recordings. And I heard some horror stories about it being a man. And after they were done with their topics, him having some opinions.
Oh, no.
About like, I don't think we need feminism. I think it's like drawing too much attention to things and all of this stuff, So it could have gone that way.
It could have, easily.
And it didn't.
No.
And I'm glad. I mean, one would hope and think that if people behind who knew that what this book was about, they would try to not.
Right.
But you never know.
You never know. I mean, we definitely, when we started this process, they didn't think that way. Let's be real honest.
True.
And we had to be like, we can't do that. This is a feminist book. Doing, like literally having to put in why a feminist book has to remain feminist, even behind the scene. And, so, I mean, yeah, we definitely encountered it from jump and then had to do a lot of fixing of like, no, this is not going to work. And people being like, oh, okay. But at the same time, also trying not to give in to us. It was odd.
Like it wasn't a big deal. And we're like, kind of is.
It is. It is. Just trust us. It is.
Yes. All involved, it will be better if you just trust us on this one. Yeah, but a part of that was, so as you were saying, there are some pretty vulnerable moments in the book, and I ended up crying pretty hard twice. Twice. I got some hugs.
Yes.
Yes. I got some warm water and tea. I got a lot of like
tea,
kind words. And I don't know how it would have gone if I hadn't had women when I was being that open about these things. But one of the things that surprised me was I cried during my coming out chapter, or I sort of it's not like, I think I didn't think I was going to cry because there's nothing in there that's very, just on paper sounds very heartbreaking or anything. It's sad at some points, but it's not like, oh God, what a horrible experience you've lived. But even though I've come out on this show to a bunch of people I don't know, I'd never come out to people I don't know in person or like while they were there and could react, I guess. And I started crying. And especially like on the parts about like feeling so lonely and feeling like something is wrong with you. And I don't think I've ever said it because those sections are written to be very like journal kind of diary entry. And I know I've talked about it on here before, but as we've said, at least I foolishly never thought we would be doing an audiobook.
It didn't come into my head either. It didn't until we got that email saying, "Hi, we're so excited to work with you." And we were like, "What?
Wait,
what is this? What is this? Why won't this end?"
I'm very happy. Like, I want it to be accessible as it can be. But yeah, it never, ever occurred to me. And you and I joked, like, there are things I would have done differently had I known I would have to read it aloud.
It also is like because we went through several editing processes, obviously, when I would write something, our amazing writer-editor, Janie, who we hope to have on the show, would come in and make it sound intelligible because I would rant, as you know, and I would just keep going, which was one of the not critiques, but one of the comments and observations I got was, you write long sentences. And I was like, yes, I do. I'm sorry. But look, the fact is, I was like, I definitely didn't write that word. I don't even know what that means. Someone pronounced this for me.
Yes.
That is definitely not my phrase. I did not say it that way.
Yes.
So those moments are like, oh, it was quite funny.
Yeah. And again, like I know you and I have read it several times, but it's just saying something aloud and reading it is different.
It is. Also, I'm not an actor.
Right. Oh my gosh.
I'm not a trained professional in this, which, by the way, we do have an actor. I'm very excited for her to be a part of it.
I am too.
But so I'm like, how do I make this sound interesting? Instead of like me just bumbling through.
Yeah. And I think too, like, we never thought we'd have a book. And so it was strange to be in a space where you could see like past people they had.
Yes.
And feel a little intimidated by, so you work with them.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm proud of what we did. And I don't want to make it sound like I'm not, but I think we can all relate to that feeling of, I've never done this before, and I'm sharing the same space as this person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is really good, and I
Yep.
know is really good.
Yeah.
So there was that going on for sure. There was an element of very much for me getting in my head where I would take their advice so seriously, and then I would get so caught up about how I sounded. But it was a very intimate, for lack of a better word, environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sharing this story that it's like me coming out, and I just started crying to my surprise. And I feel since over the years, I feel much more settled in my identity. I feel very happy with it, which I do talk about in the book as well. So it surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I just hadn't realized how much I've internalized, like people might reject you. Maybe
Right.
it's not safe to do this. Because at that point I didn't know. I knew they were women, but I didn't know for sure. But they were amazing and awesome. And one of them talked about her coming out story and how important it is to hear things like this. And we related about, I didn't even know this was a thing. And I wish I had known that it was a thing when I was so much younger. So it was a really great experience. Like, I don't think I could have asked for anything better than that. But it was kind of eye-opening for me about, okay, this still makes me nervous. I'm still not totally comfortable, which makes sense. I didn't know who they were, even as nice as they were.
Yes.
I didn't know them. But it's also, this is a book and an audiobook, and now, for some reason, as we've discussed, that feels much more permanent than when we talk on the podcast.
Right. By the way, it's already being advertised on Audible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found it today.
Don't give me a panic attack.
I was looking at something else, and it was already up. I was like, oh. And it said pre-order. So you can pre-order the audio, and we haven't even finished it.
We haven't. And we have to go back and do pickups. And I'm worried because I'm going to have to do pickups for like the times I was crying.
Oh, no. I didn't even think about that.
Yes. Oh, I did.
I definitely have to go back for like renaming things, like hard to pronounce. We do talk about First Nations and Indigenous people. And I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
I wish we had their technology. They had a whole technology that scans a document and tells you, oh, this might be a word you want to look up.
Oh, really? Yeah, they didn't know how to say it either. I found it.
Well, good
and
for
you.
It
was still difficult.
Yes. It was cool, though, because they had a whole process for figuring out how to pronounce things, including calling their friends in different countries.
Right.
It was very neat.
Right. That's funny.
Yes. But on top of that, I realized I had this beautiful conversation about coming out, and it was so nice, and like this kind of connecting and all of this stuff. But then I also realized that I'm still really afraid, and rightfully so, I think, in some ways, of getting stuff wrong when it comes to LGBTQ+, which is something I kept tripping up on that I had to say a million times. Just terminology. And it's a part of it is so much of it is in flux, and so much of it is being discussed and is changing. But I had a lot of anxiety about the Monday Mini I did by myself, which was just a strict history of the terminology. So I'm still struggling with that. And I still, I'm a cis, white, straight passing person. And so I think I felt, it's always good to keep things in context. But I think I felt like when I was having this emotion that I shouldn't be having it, because I really haven't suffered that much. And like I said, I think it's important to keep things in context. But it was also like, I don't think I ever grappled with just how lonely I felt. So it was interesting. But I do hope that it will help people, anyone who listens. If you're like me and didn't know that terminology, didn't know that was a thing, even though that's like what was going on. I do hope it will help.
I'm sure
somebody. And then I've also been thinking about this too, and this is just I've only been thinking about it, and we'll wrap up. But I've been thinking about a couple of you have written in asking for resources because you'll be talking to people who don't know about a lot of queer terminology. They don't know that there's like a romantic spectrum on top of a sexual spectrum. And that got me thinking about how we say love is love, which I'm all about. But it's also like, you should be able to have consensual sex with whoever you want to. I'm all for love is love, but also, but that being said, if anyone does have really great resources, I usually go to the Trevor Project, but they don't, at least as far as I saw, don't have a great breakdown of the like romantic versus sexual spectrum. They do have a really great breakdown of a gender identity. But if you have any resources, we would love to shout them out. So please send those our way. Cheers, Samantha. We did it.
We're partway through, most of the way through. Cheers.
We're more than halfway there. Cheers. Yes, if you would like to contact us, you can. Our email is stephanieandmomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Twitter at momstuffpodcast or on Instagram and TikTok at Stuff Mom Never Told You. You can also find us on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store. You have new stuff on there. You should check it out. We do have a book that you can pre-order at stuffyoushouldreadbooks.com. Apparently, we also have a Audible book you can already pre-order. So check that out. It's going to be cool. It's going to have like narration by an actor. It's going to be awesome. Yes. Thanks as always to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff I Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, you can check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.